Welcome to Nightlight. Step away from the mainstream and gather around as we enlighten the world and our realities and travel this cosmic journey we call life. Join us as we share with you and provide that beacon that can guide us all to a better way. Explore with us as we examine a metaphysical montage of spiritual insights covering everything from the mundane to the magical, UFOs to unicorns, and everything in between. This is a time of awakening, of sharing and evolving, of spreading our wings and soaring on the cosmic breath of creation. Come and join with other light-minded spirits as we weave our lights together to seek understanding, enlightenment, and with a little luck, some wisdom. This is Nightlight, a reminder that you are never alone.
Thank you for being with us tonight. Last week, we got a cryptid series kicked off with Ron Murphy and Sir Brian Bowden talking about fairies. That's the book from last week. And the cryptid series is definitely underway with two more shows to follow. We have Joey Madia making his third appearance on the Little Nightlight show. Barbara's been a guest with Joey on his Into the Outer Realms. So we have a really good connection with Joey. He's just a terrific guest. He has a great series on pirates entitled The Cannon and Quill. We have a continuation of the terror caused by Victorian doctors in his The Three Gothic Doctors and Their Sons. That's actually really well done novel. We had Joey and Tonya on for their well-documented Watch Out for the Hallway, a paranormal investigation of a library in North Carolina. Joey, really valuable back of the book blurb for my book. He is down here at the bottom. Very appreciative of that, and he's done several more book reviews, and Joey really has a fantastic way with words to convince people that, hey, this book is worth purchasing because of the content. He really helps authors a tremendous amount. So thanks, Joey. And he will continue to have a stellar career as an author. We're going to get into his new projects. He's a leading podcaster, and so Barbara, if you want to bring Joey on, that's fine.
Hi, my friend.
And hey, Joey, thanks so much for being here. And we have another super special guest. Our other guest, there she is. Our other guest is my mom. She also goes by the name Linda Sigman. She's the author of Beyond the Pale Moonlight. Right there. She's in high demand on the Mothman and UFO lecture circuit. You can also see her on the Fox Nation episode, Mothman, the Man, the Moth, the Legend. So, both of our guests tonight have heavy duty Mothman connections, and they're going to be discussing their experiences and research. So, yeah, thank you, Linda and Joey, for um, being with us tonight on Nightlight. Hope everyone's having a great week.
Oh, is that a question to us?
Oh, yeah, it's just
I don't know if you were talking to the audience.
it's
busy, just busy, and it's been so hot.
Yeah.
But,
It's cooling off here a little in
Carolina.
Eastern Ohio.
Okay.
It's actually cooling off a little, yeah.
Yeah, we're supposed to have some rain showers. Send them down, stream from you. We could use the plants could really use a drink. But how about we start with you, and Joey, you can bring your insights into the conversation as well, since you are recognize a lot of patterns. But okay, so who were you, Linda? Who were you prior to the events of April 15th? And we don't have to talk about the year.
I was in high school. I was a junior in high school, and that was the last part of my junior year, and I graduated when I was 17 in 1967. So just a teenage girl,
Okay.
doing teenage stuff. And the whole Mothman thing had really changed me, particularly over the summer after I saw him that April in 1967.
Okay. Well, don't give away the whole story yet. But okay,
no.
okay, okay. So you're and
I'm going to school and just hanging out with my friends. And the prior November is when it all started, before I saw him in April. So
Okay.
we were going down to Point Pleasant a lot.
Okay, so your experience happened okay, about 5 months
Mhm.
after the initial sighting, the Scarberrys and mallets. It's documented in Jeff Walmsley's book. Okay, so
Almost to the day. To the day.
okay,
I think it was like the 18th. So it was the 15th when that started, I think.
okay, so the okay, the sightings, let's just say, started in November of 66. So
Mhm.
what are you hearing over the winter, as we get into the spring? Is it a big story?
Yeah.
Recreate what people were saying about what's going on down the river.
When it first came out, it came on the news and on the airways, on the radio, WMPO radio, that a big, large bird-like creature was sighted in the TNT area. And it had been following people around and seen in a cemetery and seen up and down the river. It chased a bloodmobile. And then Linda Scarberry and her husband and the Malays went out looking for it. And they found it. And in my mind, when I heard the story from them, through hearsay, of course, I could picture it in my mind just exactly where they were and how horrifying that was, because as kids, we always went down there and hung out and partied and just, you know, I ran the quarter mile in my 65 Mustang. You know, we did all kind of teenage stuff. But when that happened, it was shocking because they went, one of them, I think, went to Tony's Drive-In, which was a hot dog stand. Of course, I could see that in my mind and think, you know, how afraid they were. And I talked to my parents about it, and my dad said, will you stay away from down there, because there's a bunch of people down there and there's government people. And by that, I was thinking maybe he was talking about the men in black that Mary Hires saw, because she worked for the Athens Messenger. And I think she had a office down there in Gallipolis area. And they bothered her all the time. My dad just said, don't you go down there anymore. Don't you hang out down there. You stay up on this side of the river. So, you know, I'm thinking, oh, you know, there goes my fun. But then over the winter, you know, there were different things and activities that I was in. And then it came springtime, and a bunch of us got together and we decided to go down there. Well, we went down. We didn't see much. But then I started dating a boy in April, and he wanted to go look for it. And of course, I was all for it because I wasn't afraid of anything. And I said, but my parents told me I shouldn't go down there. And we used to ride his horse out back of Mason, West Virginia. And that was about 20 or 25 minutes from Point Pleasant up the river. So he said, let's go over there where we rode the horse. And I've got an area over there in a big pasture that I've been going to help a guy do some hay this summer. He said, let's go check it out, sit on that hill and see what we can see. So I was all for it. So I wasn't allowed to go back down there, but I was very curious about it. We talked about it in school, and everybody said, well, you know, I don't know what the lights are. They called them aliens. They called them UFOs. They called them people from Mars, little green men. And then my dad said something about an author being down there, and that probably was John Keel. He was investigating. But the thing that sticks in my mind is my dad said, oh, it's just a sandhill crane. So I'm thinking, well, there's nothing to be afraid of. That's what it was. But I thought that was very strange, because I was always interested in the nature and animals. And I knew it would be a sandhill crane that could fly 100 miles an hour and chase cars. So that takes you to April, when I went with him.
Okay. So you document in your autobiography that, you know, okay, you go up to the farm area, you put a blanket on the hood to sit there and watch for
UFOs, mostly.
Cryptids or
Cryptids,
flying
Mothman,
humanoids.
whatever.
Okay, so yeah, the two of you were there. It's was it like 7, a little after 7 p.m.
About 7:30. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. By April, it's starting. It's staying light.
It's dusk. Yeah, it's dusk. You can see the trees. There's over to our left, and there's no leaves, and you can see the expanse of sky above us. I've been out there a couple times since then, and it looks the same, but it's been how many years? Almost 60 years. And there's
29.
29. That's right. Time's not like it used to be, is it? But anyway, we sat there and it just started getting dark, and I was looking up. I remember leaning back against the windshield and looking up, and he was sitting kind of forward and looking to his left. And I asked him what he's looking at. He said, well, I've been watching this light over here in the sky for about 10 minutes. And I said, is that a star? And it was just right above the treetops. And you could see clouds and stars. And I thought maybe it was a moon. And then suddenly this light burst through the clouds, and the clouds parted, and everything turned red and orange. It was beautiful. Of course, I'm a child of the 50s, and I'm thinking, well, they're dropping the bomb, you know? And I said, oh my God, what is it? So it starts to move, and we're watching it, and I'm thinking it's real far away, you know, but it really wasn't that far away. It apparently, I don't want to, this is my opinion. It came through the clouds, through another universe, or through another dimension, because it looked like a supernova. It was like an explosion, and it was there. And it was a big round orange ball, about the size of a full moon from where I'm sitting. And it starts to move, and we're watching it. I'd say it's probably 50 to 75 yards, maybe even 100 yards, a football field probably away from us, because we're in the middle of the field, and then there's more field and trees, and it's behind the trees in the sky. And at this time, it's moving really slow, but it's moving towards the road that we came in on. And I'm sitting there watching it, and it comes out to the road where we came in, and it's bigger than I imagined, you know, because I was thinking, well, my goodness, you know, and it turned sort of a reddish orange when it got out over the road, and it was still treetop high, and it just stopped. And both of us just kind of said, you know, what is it? And he said, well, it's a spaceship. You know, that's back then. It was this kind of language, and we didn't really call it a UFO. You called them men from Mars, spaceships, you know, something out of this world. And it started to move toward us, straight from where it was at to a corner. And it moved straight to the car, and it came up above the car, treetop high. And I'm still sitting there, and I turn, and he's gone. He left me on the car, and I'm looking up, thinking, you know, what's this thing going to do to us? And he had got a quilt from his grandma. His birthday was the last part of March, and this was the middle of April, so he brought that quilt, and it was slippery. And we hadn't been out there more than 20 minutes, I don't think, at the most. And the quilt slipped. And when I slipped down over the front of the car on that quilt onto the ground. And I can remember burning the back of my legs. I had shorts on. And the quilt went kind of first. And then I'm hollering for him, and I'm sitting on the ground, and I'm looking up. And then this is the part that is kind of disconcerting, because I kept this all to myself and in my memories for, till 2019, I guess it was, when I came out here, 2018. And then I went to the Round Town UFO Society, and I got a licensed hypnotherapist to regress me. And she found out what happened when I fell onto the ground. Shall I go on?
How about we stop for a second and
Okay.
okay, so this is we still haven't gotten to your Mothman encounter, but Joey, is Linda's experience i- uh normal for a lot of experiencers to have these preceding events prior to like the main event? You are very familiar with all the literature. Is this pretty common?
I think that it is. I'm also an experiencer, as you know, Mark, and in
Yeah.
Point Pleasant,
Yeah.
in 2009. Um, so I think we do have warm-ups. In my case, I think it was because of Tonya, who gets visitations all the time and has since she was 2 or 3 years old. So sometimes you can track back, and what you'll see is there is a whole history of this. So my experience was very different than Tanya's experience. In that way, it was a little like Benny and Barney Hill. But just to stay on topic with your question, so we don't go sideways, yeah, that is what I have found, that there are precursors, and then this happens this night, or again, for Tanya and I, it happened in 3 stages. So it was like,
Uh,
okay, you passed that test. Now we're going to give you this one. Oh, you passed that one. You're going to do that one.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, as I was reading Linda's book, I knew we were going to be on the show together, but I very much had my parallels and patterns researcher crunch a lot of data, and I was going, oh yeah, every moment of this tracks, every moment.
it-
Thank you.
and you get people say the owls showed up prior to, so
Oh, oh
there's
yeah.
you hear different symbols appeared prior to what the person, a witness that became the life changing event. It's probably you get a lot of the smaller spheres swirling around on close encounters of the third kind. So there's you're going back almost 50 years to uh, these types of events happening. With I thought it was interesting in Linda's case where she's talking about the clouds began to churn, and then the parting. You get we'll get into you know Mark's artwork is
It's incredible.
later in the show, but they're just seems to be it was an interesting pattern, and we'll get into Betty and Barney, Michael Carter, so some of these regression things. So it, it it's all it's an interesting pattern. Okay, so this is the first you know wave of sightings.
Mhm.
Okay, so you fell
I fell.
off the slid off the hood of the car. That then what happened next?
The next thing I remembered, it was like I woke up in the car. I found myself in the car and I looked, and my boyfriend was sitting behind the steering wheel with his head kind of down, and he was gripping the wheel. and then he reached to try to start the car, and I was so dumbfounded about how I felt and what might have happened to me that I looked out the passenger side, and I could see the bottom of the UFO. I still see it in my mind, the way it had the form of like a cross or a T in lights. And it was so large and so close to us that I could almost feel the heat from it, but I could especially feel the light that surrounded the entire car inside and around. But I couldn't see the stars. And the thing about it was how I felt. I wasn't really afraid. I was more in awe. And my thoughts went back to my family and thinking about what my dad said. Don't go down there, you'll get into trouble. And I thought, well, so much for that. So he started the car and it finally got it going. And as he started to pull away, the creature was standing at the left front bumper. And I'm grabbing hold of him, and I'm also looking out, and I'm going back and forth from looking under and up and out the window and up, and I'm saying, look at that thing standing there. Look at that creature. Is that moth thing, that bird? We called it the bird because that's what people thought it was some type of huge bird. And the thing, it was tall and it was black. I didn't see any feathers. It had long legs, long arms, and wings. And its hands and its arms were separate from its wings. And I can remember the skin. It was so light, it was underneath that UFO. I could see it pretty well, but I saw it from the side, so I didn't really see the eyes. And it took like one step forward and it went up. It put its wings back and it jumped and it went up and it went across the road and into the trees. And I'm screaming, look at that thing, look at that thing. And he's fishtailing out through the field to the road that we came in on, and gravels are flying. And I'm screaming and I'm hanging out. We didn't have seatbelts. I was hanging out the passenger side, trying to get every look I could at it. And I could see it. It stood up and it turned around and sat down. And he's fishtailing. He almost lost it. We almost went over the hill. And we get partway down over the hill. And I'm saying, did you see that? And he said, Linda, I saw it. It was a spaceship, UFO. And I said, no, didn't you see that creature? He said, I didn't see any creature. I said, how could you not see it? He said, I was trying to get us out of there, trying to get us away from that thing. Because as we went forward, the UFO went right above us and down through the pasture and over the hill. And we turned to the left and went down. We went down about, I would say probably quarter of a mile to bottom of the hill. And that whole area was strip mines back then. And strip mine is where they come in and they just take the bottom, the ground and around in the hills and do separate the coal, the vein of coal, and they put it in trucks and they take it away. So that was an old strip mine. It wasn't being used anymore, but there were buildings. So I said, just please stop for a minute, because he still was driving crazy. He said, we'll get down here and we'll pull in and then we'll decide where we're going to go. So we went down the gravel road and he made a left off into that strip mine area. And we pulled in and just kind of faced up. We didn't pull all the way around facing out the road we came in on. We faced up towards the road. And we sat there. And I said, I want to go back up there because I want you to see that creature that I saw. And he said, I don't want to go back up there. And I said, I begged him to go. And he didn't want to. So I think he was getting ready to start the car. He turned it off. We had the windows down. And all of a sudden, this light came up over the hill from where we had seen the creature, and it was following the road, and it was about 3 feet above the gravel road, and it was a ball of light, and just round white, blue light, and it was very small in comparison, about the size of a small car or a Volkswagen Beetle. It's moving right above the road, and that road is kind of snaky, and we watched it, and it traveled the road. It was about 3 feet above, but yet it traveled the road like it was alive, or it was driven. It was either occupied or the thing was a creature in itself. And it gets even with our car, which was probably about 30 yards. We were about 30 yards from off of the road, and it stopped. And we're sitting there looking at it, thinking, crap, we're dead, because it sent its sentinels out to get us. Exactly what I thought. They've come to get us. And then suddenly it started moving in towards us. Now we're sitting there, and when it approaches, it'll approach at the driver's side, and it did, and it came so slow, maybe 1 or 2 miles an hour, and it came up to the driver's side, and it stopped. And we're just sitting there looking at it, thinking, all the things that go through your mind. I'm not going to graduate. They're going to take me, but yet you're in awe when you're looking at something that close. There's no light around it. It in itself was a light. It's like looking at a iridescent light or an incandescent light where it gives off its own light. You can't see into it. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. And it started to move then, and it moved around till it got to the front of the car, and it stopped right at the bumper. And we're both sitting there looking at it, and it is almost touching the bumper of the car, but it's up high enough that we can look. I said, "Do you see anybody driving that thing?" He said, "No." And I said, "Can you see anything about it?" And he said, "No." And suddenly it started to rise, and I'm thinking, well, this is it. But it just went up and over the car and was gone. And when it did that, it filled the car with blue-white light. And I felt like I had been bathed in something. I was on the floor by this time. I got down there on the floor. And then when it was gone, I looked at him, and he was slumped way down. And he got out his side, I got out my side, and we walked around. He had a 56 Chevy. We walked around to the back and stood and looked all around and could see nothing but darkness. And he said, "Let me take you home." So we headed out. He takes me across the bridge, the Primary Mason Bridge. I lived about 40 yards, 50 yards below that bridge, in a house right on the river with my parents. And we get on the bridge, and I said, "I feel funny." He said, "I do too." I said, "Tell me how you feel." He said, "I can't explain it really." I said, "I feel like," now back then we didn't have computers. I said, "I feel like somebody went in and picked my brain or swept my brain or put something in there." He said, "I feel the same way." I said, "Why am I not crying? Why am I not afraid? Why am I not worried?" He wasn't either. We were just in awe. So we went up to Pomeroy and went and looked around over across the river, and then he took me home. And when he pulled into the driveway, my dad and mom were sitting on the front porch, and my parents had a big house with a big porch that overlooked the river. And where we were parked was probably, as a crow flies, less than 5 miles away. You just over the river and over the hill, and there we were. And my dad came running out to the car, and he said, "Oh, you should have seen what your mom and I just saw. We saw a UFO." I said, "No way." And he said, "Yeah." He said, "Come up here and sit on the porch, and I'll tell you about it." So we went up there, and he said it came up over the high school, which was directly across from their house, rose up over the hill. He said it almost hit the bridge when it went north. And the phone was ringing. My mom went in to get it, and she came out, and it was her mother. She said, "Your grandma said to go look. There's at least one, maybe two UFOs coming your way." So the three generations saw it the same time, same night. There were other people that saw it. Uh, it was on the radio. I knew a set of twins that they had gone that day prior to that and saw it before it got dark. And with their dad, it was over top of a water tower. But there were a lot of people calling in. It was in the newspaper. And I told my dad I wanted to call in. He said, "Stay out of it. We don't want those government people up here." So I usually did what he said. Um, uh, but he didn't scold me for where I was or what I was doing. So,
Okay, it's Joe. You seemed very uh intrigued by Linda's statement about like three generations of a family being impacted, having an experience. Is you have I'm sure you've had a few people on your shows who have experienced that. Has your family, or if you want to talk about it, has your family it uh, had generations experiencing things? Why is it like certain families are experiencing this? Are they, certain families targeted? What are your insights?
That's an interesting word, targeted. So my family personally, 3 out of my 4 great grandmothers had special gifts, special
mm,
talents. Um, Going back to the 1920s, 1930s, I don't know that you would be talking UFOs. They all came from Sicily and southern Italy, but they all had special. Tanya's family, her grandmother was a channeler. She was an astral traveler. Tonya, of course, from the time she was little, Tonya partially makes her living as a psychic, as a medium, as someone who communicates with the dead, and has strange marks and strange experiences, especially when we're apart. So she'll be at people's houses and they'll say, "Were you not sleeping okay? We heard the TV in the middle of the night." "No, I didn't have the TV on. I was sound asleep." And "No, there was a light coming out from your door, and we heard a man's voice like a news anchor." And more than one person. One of them was in Kentucky. One of them was in West Virginia. It was like 3 years apart. Same exact experiences. So you take my family, you take Tanya's family, and our daughter Joe is incredibly gifted. Um, she would say in some ways cursed. So the generational thing, some of the research says it could be in the genes, it could be in the DNA, it could be in the blood. Um, it could simply be where are people from? So when Tanya goes and speaks at conferences or is amongst like-minded people or other sensitives, they'll say, "Oh, you're from the fairy realm," or "You're from the Pleiades." She was gathering women. They about had their 7 sisters from the Pleiades who were sort of all drawn together. So the intergenerational thing is very real. I had a guy on the show who at a July 4th picnic, his mother was 8.5 months pregnant with him, and a UFO came over and shined a beam directly down on her. The beam shined down on her, and from the time he was little, he had abduction experiences. So that's very, very key. I also think it's wonderful for Linda that there was all that confirmation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean that is tremendous when you have that confirmation. And there was a lot going on at that time. I mean, let's remember Keel and Mary Hyre were going up on the hills and signaling UFOs with flashlights at that time. Some of the UFOs sound similar to, I love, a lot of people got upset when they went from UFO to UAP. But I think aerial phenomena is because there are sky worms and there are orbs and they're not just nuts and bolts. That's our big thing, in the Bigfoot camp. It's, is it flesh and blood or is it interdimensional? Same thing. Are what we're seeing, because Tonya and I have gotten to the point now where we can call them in and they come in as multicolored orbs over the treetops. And that's not a nuts and bolts UFO. That's very similar to what, Linda saw as far as the orbs, the fireballs.
Yeah, and that's what one of the terms Linda was using was is someone driving it, or is the sphere
It felt
alive?
real. I felt alive to me.
Yep.
Yeah, and so just to tie in the Betty and Barney story from a few years, 7 years prior to your sighting, is that I think it was Barney said he could see like the pilot or people in the craft. So that is something, a pattern of flying low enough that the contactee could see into the craft. But you get other people talking about was the sphere a living creature by itself? So that's
another thing that I have found. A lot of the people that I've talked to that have been experiencers or have sighted Mothman have Native American in their background. I am 6th great granddaughter of Chief Cornstalk. And my grandpa that saw it, he would have been, how many? But my mother, it was my mother's dad and mother that saw it. And then I haven't really thought too much about it, but my great grandma lived right beside my grandma and grandpa, and it was her family that the Cornstalks were through. So actually, there's 4 generations, and my mother always had abilities. She had insight and power of discernment, and my sister did too, but it didn't really interest her. I think it more or less frightened her. She was older than me. Both of my kids have abilities. I think sometimes my son a little more than my daughter, but I think a lot of it is she is a science teacher. So she has that analytical brain where she wants to find the reason for something through science. But she's coming around because she's seen some of the things that happens with me when she's with me. She's to the point now, she's like, okay, Mom, go do your thing. Because it has left me or helped my psychic senses to heighten since then. And when always tell people, I think when you get to be about 40, it really kicks in, because you get to the point in your life where you are settled, you know who you are, basically where you're going, and you start worrying less about what other people think about you. And now at the age I am, I hear all kinds of stuff. I get called kook and space cadet and all kinds of stuff, but I just laugh along with them, because I think until they experience it, you can't really tell somebody how deeply that affects you. And I'm past the point of thinking, well, I'm crazy. I have met like-minded people enough that I feel confident in the way that I feel about things now. And I'm glad now that it happened to me. I have to say, I can't stand right here and tell you what it was. I just know what I experienced. I can't tell you 100% where it came from, but I have a pretty good idea that these things are interdimensional and that they are here more or less. In that case, he could have hurt me. He didn't. So I can tell you more about the regression if you want to know.
Yeah, that's fine. 'Cause, Joey has had guests on his show. Michael Carter's one. He can talk about his regressions.
Mhm.
Those started in the 1990s.
I believe so.
So yeah, a lot. I think what I have enjoyed about Linda's book and her presentation at the Brook Hills paranormal conference is that she is presenting information that it is just validates what earlier authors had said. It continues the discussion, and I don't- you know Jo- I know Joey and Michael, and he's I think spoken about his regression experiences with Barbara as well. But it's a way to understand what what happened, and it's, some questions about that. But I I think so many of these shows, podcasts, do br- bring out these patterns that we don't really know why. The experiencers give us a better understanding of what happened. But Linda, why don't you go ahead and talk about going to Circleville?
When I got a computer, and one of the very first things I did was, of course, try to find out more about Mothman and see if I could find people that had experienced it. One thing I did find was the Round Town UFO Society in Circleville. And so I reached out to them and told them what I had experienced. They were basically interested in my UFO encounters, and asked me to come up and give a presentation of what I had encountered. So I agreed. So I went up, and I went to several of the meetings, and Mr. Hardinger who was the president, asked me if I would like to be regressed, that they had a member there that was a licensed therapist, and she did regression. And I was a little bit hesitant, but I had met her and didn't realize that she had done that. And, we had hit it off, and, I felt like I would be comfortable with her doing that. But I was one of those people that I thought, yeah, right. That's I like to be in control of a lot of things in my life, and I just didn't think that I would be able to give that control to anybody else. And she said, "Well, let's just give it a try. It's not really like that. What I'll do is kind of relax you and get you to the point wherever you want to start, and then we can pick up from there, and maybe you can find out about that missing time," because I had half an hour, 45 minutes or more missing time
So it
from.
was so basically when you're regaining consciousness, it's what, 8 o'clock. Going back to the
Yeah,
UFO Mothman. So now it's 8 o'clock, maybe a little after 8, and
about a
it's
quarter after 8, going
uh,
on 8:30.
okay,
Yeah,
and so it is probably about dark by then.
it is dark. It's good and dark.
Okay.
And that was the
o-
thing that frightened me.
Okay, okay, so we're looking at dusk to dark, and what happened in that 45-minute. Okay, so go ahead.
So I'm on the car, and he jumps off on the right side and runs, and I slide off because I'm looking up. I'm not holding on to anything. I don't know what I'm doing. I slide off. The quilt falls down, and I burn my back of my legs. And when I fall onto something, and I'm thinking, "Oh, what is this?" And I fell on a pair of feet. I know how fantastical that sounds. I know people are going to laugh, but I know what happened. I slipped off that car onto feet, and I wasn't very big. I was probably, I don't think I even weighed 100 pounds. So, I was a lightweight. And when I fell down onto those big feet, I'm thinking maybe it was him. I'm praying that was him. I knew it wasn't, but I didn't know where he had gone. And I'm thinking, well, okay. So I look, and the area's lit up from a yellowish orange glow from the UFO. And, like I said, it wasn't really hot, but you could feel it on your skin. And all I could see was feet and legs and arms. And I'm looking further up, scaly gray skin, body of a person, a something, a creature, arms with big hands, long fingers. I'm getting cold just thinking about it. It's still hard. And hands and wings and a dark head. I don't want to look. I remember I put my head down. I didn't want to look. And she's asking me, she's not coaching me. She's just telling me what you see. And I said, it's a creature. It's standing in front of me. I'm on its feet. And it picked me up with one arm. And I could feel not warmth, but I could feel the body of it. It grasped me with its hands, and it carried me to the car. And I just kind of went limp. The next thing I know, it's at the door of the car, and the door is ajar, and it swings it open. It pulls him out. And I can remember he wouldn't look at its face. And I'm trying to decide where I'm at and what I'm doing. it's bench seat, and I scoot across the seat, and he gets in or is put in, and the door goes bang, and I can remember that startled me. And by the time I had told the therapist, I was hysterical because of the creature and just the thoughts of that thing having hold of me. But people have told me since then, it didn't hurt you. It didn't hurt you. It didn't hurt me. And that's, I've had therapy. I've talked to several therapists about it, and some have laughed. Some have tried to tell me, try to tell me that it didn't happen. And I know what happened. I remembered every bit of it. I remembered the night. I remember what it looks like. I don't even have to close my eyes to see that thing. And then's when it walked to the front of the car and jumped up in the air and flew into the trees. Now, she brought me back because I was hysterical. And if you want to watch it, it's on YouTube somewhere. It was on Round Town UFO Society. It was the whole thing was taped. And I don't care if you want to watch it. It's long, so I would fast forward clear to the first 15 or 20 minutes of it. I would have bet money that I could not have been hypnotized. Now, hypnosis is something a little different than what I ever even imagined it would be. What I encountered was I was able to see in my mind's eye what I had on. I had on a pair of Madras plaid green and yellow and white shorts and a blue blouse. And he had on a pair of blue jeans and a white t-shirt. When we went across the bridge, I can remember Brown Eyed Girl was playing on the radio. Things that I hadn't remembered until she put me under, and I could see where we were going and what the terrain looked like and what it felt like and what I was experiencing. But I tell you, it left me with so many more questions than answers. I know it did not hurt me, but it changed me, and I'm still changing. I am a psychic empath. I see spirits. I walk up to people in Walmart and tell them I'm sorry that their mother died. And I tell them their name and where they lived and her name and who she was and where she was from. And my kids would get so embarrassed with me. And now they just say, I'm going over here, go do your thing. But I pray, I'm a born again Christian. And so I pray that God only lets me see the good. I'd never want to tell anybody anything bad. But I feel that there is a strong connection with Chief Cornstalk, with many of these individuals that have this experience. Tony Breeden's another one, if you know Tony. I talked to him, he goes, we're cousins. And he's into all that. And I had the dream that people had where before the bridge fell, I knew the bridge was going to collapse, but I didn't know that that's what it was. I saw packages floating in the water. I didn't even know what that was until I read John Keel's book about the Mothman prophecies. I see things, hear things, see spirits. I feel things. And I'm grateful, but it's taken me many years to get to this point. And all I want to do is help other people. And my main thing is I want to know that it's not evil. It surely could have hurt me.
Okay, Joey, what do you think of as we get into the another phase of Linda's uh, story is, I think helping others is pretty standard. After Michael has that in his initiation book, where after experience, a lot of people want to get involved, change the world for the better, or involved in some uh, outreach program for children, or something like that. But he does write about that. What do you,
Hey,
what do
Mark,
you? Yeah.
what she's experiencing too is what a lot of near-death experiencers come back with.
Okay.
People who tried to commit suicide, or people who died and came back.
Mhm.
All of them have a greater feeling of love and compassion, and just wanting to make sure that they help other people understand a deeper aspect of their own consciousness and what's inside of them, so that in many ways these kind of experiences create missionaries of some sort that are on
Mhm.
the planet. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay.
Thank you.
What?
That's exactly how I feel. I feel like I need to do something for the better good. So
Okay, Joey, are you and Tonya experiencing a lot of this same thing after your experiences?
Well, certainly, yes. I mean, Tanya does this work. I mean, she's an energy healer, and she's a
Mhm.
therapist, past life regression, soul contact, Reiki, all of these kinds of things, card reading, and all. So that it's very much a mission for her. Yeah, I was naturally suited to it. I did a lot of social justice work through the theater. That was my
Mm.
chosen path. All that was prior. So I was an excellent candidate for that. Dr. Barbara Mango and her co-author, whose name escapes me, they've done studies on this too. It's, Linda talked about the enhancement of her psychic abilities.
Mhm.
Whatever these contacts are, open us up. So it took me a long time. I started with clairaudience. I could hear spirits. So when we did the whole thing at the library for 2 years, that 150 hours, I could hear them. But then over time, I was able to see them. So I do see them now, not on the level Tanya does, not on the level that Joe does, our daughter. But I do think, there are some people that just walk away from it, or they
they're
deny it.
frightened.
Yeah, they explain it away, or they're more than happy to have the psychologist tell them, "Oh, you made it up," or "It's a false memory," or there was that very sticky stuff a couple decades ago where it was all screen memories for a very, very bad thing that would happen to little children. If you remember, I'm trying to be,
Yeah,
Mark,
Yeah.
I know what you
as a
mean.
podcast host, we have to be super delicate. We have to
Yeah.
watch. And all of that I think was very unfortunate. But yeah, I remember saying to Tanya in 2009, we knew something happened to us, and we didn't undergo our regressions till a decade later. Never
Mhm.
thought of it. We had mentors like Rosemary Ellen Guiley, wrote 65
Wow.
books,
Yeah.
an absolute superstar, and she never suggested it. We knew that there was 2.5 hours of missing time till I think we were on Midnight in the Desert. I can't remember, but it was a very late show, and it's like 1:30 in the morning, and we're telling our story, and the DJ, the radio host, says, "You ever thought about being regressed?" And the timing was wonderful,
Mhm.
because Tanya was going through it. So all the mystique and the scariness of what, because Linda was absolutely right. You are totally in control. And she was talking about fast forwarding through the first 15, 20 minutes. That's all that set up to relax you, to get the conscious mind to go away, let the subconscious mind come up, let those, because we knew some things, but the most profound stuff we didn't know. So it was interesting. It was like watching a movie
Yes.
with the light going on and off,
Mhm.
and the regression allowed the light to stay on.
She wanted me to come back. She said there's more. And at that point in my life, I wasn't ready. And that was 2021. I probably could do it now. I probably could go back and find out. I could probably handle it now. Back then, I was going through a lot of stuff in my life. But now I think I could handle it.
Yeah, our regression was in 2019, which was interesting. You said when you become 40, you get more open to it. Tonya and I were 41 when we had our experience in Point Pleasant. We were 41. It was 2009. So that's extraordinary. That's extraordinary too. I remember saying to Tonya, okay, if it's going to study us, I want to study it back. And that changed our entire
I like that. Yes.
changed our entire life. It changed our entire life path. It's not that we
I
put
know.
anything away, but we added this whole thing that now has been 16 years of research and mitigating, mediating hauntings between the living and the dead so that people can cohabitate. That's our book, Roommates from Beyond, How to Live in a Haunted Home. Like the idea of everything has to be banished and everything's a demon. And we've been on some of the big radio shows and people call in irate and say, you folks are kidding yourselves. Like it's like 95% demonic. I'm like, no, actually, I think it's, I've encountered really dark really dark things.
I've
And it's
seen
been
them.
an extraordinarily low percentage. Extraordinarily low percentage. So
Me too. I feel
yeah.
protected. I feel protected.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I feel protected. Like I said, I think my Christianity, well, I know God protects me.
Yeah.
That's why people say, oh, they're evil. They're demons. They're this, they're that. Well, there are demons. There are evil things. But I think I would have known when that thing had hold of me. I could have felt, even as young as I was, the evil, and I didn't. I felt it was saving me. It was protecting me. It was a harbinger of doom, if anything, trying to protect people.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's where so, some people try to interpret the Mothman's appearance. You get the good versus the bad.
Mhm.
Uh, Keel, if I can find it real fast. He really he didn't um say it was one way or another, and he was um there at the same time, and uh
It's a different era too. I think that's another thing to keep in mind.
but-
The
okay,
people didn't speak out. There was only
yeah,
good and bad back then. There wasn't the unknown like
yeah,
there,
the gray, yeah,
now.
yeah,
There was no gray area.
yeah, and towards the end of the book, Mothman Prophecies, Keel wrote, John Mary began hesitantly. Do you think this had anything to do with the UFOs and the bird? She's talking about the bridge collapse.
Mhm.
There's no answer to that, Mary. Uh, etc. It's not your fault. Some things are just meant to be. Um, Now he
I don't
gets
know.
into then he would like the next paragraph he says I had been led into relationships and events that seemed to follow a structured pattern beyond my control, even beyond my understanding. That's I don't know, I like to see your experience as something positive. I don't
Oh yeah,
I
absolutely.
but I just don't know if we could, just make a blanket statement. The creature, the bird, is evil. Your um story does not depict that, and um, we can get into the artwork here in a second, but there, obviously this is the photo.
I drew those in 5
Oh,
minutes.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was pointing to the wrong photo. That's the photo we're talking about. That it's it's uh weird, but it's not necessarily ominous.
No, this is exactly what I saw. That's what I saw.
Okay.
And yeah, it was beautiful.
hmm
It was beautiful.
Okay. So let's. I think one of the interesting things about your book is Mark Randall's artwork. Okay, I don't know how he does this and puts in the humanoid, winged humanoid type drawing. He's just a terrific artist. Keep he's usually at the Mothman Festival selling his artwork. Just he does fantastic stuff. I don't even know how he does it. I just buy his
I
posters.
told him what I saw, and he drew it.
Yeah.
And I said, "That's it, Mark." And he has great big there.
hmm
He has pictures of it, laminated things of it they gave me. And he'll be down there. He'll be under the white tent. And he wasn't there last year. He and his wife got hit by a car. They were crossing the street, and they were both injured.
Oh boy.
And it took them almost a year to get over it, I think. But they'll be there this year, and I'm happy I'll get to talk to him because it's
hmm
been a few years.
Yeah. Search out Mark Randall at the Mothman Festival, and he he's a very nice guy and a very
He's very
talented
nice. Mhm.
artist. But we can. You also have quite a few pages of your own drawing. So people can follow what your homes, the river where you live, uh, about where. Okay, the town of Mason's up here. Of all, there you and your boyfriend sitting on the cart. Okay, so yeah, these are your drawings, right?
Yeah, and I drew them real quick because when they asked me to come up to the Roundtown UFO Society, they said, bring pictures, bring drawings. And I'm like, oh, shoot. So I sat down and it took me about an hour to draw all that. And I thought, I'm an artist. I paint, no draw. But I was in a hurry. So,
Uh,
and I told Mark about it and we laughed and he said, put them in there, put them in there. I was like, well, whatever. But
yeah.
that picture of me sitting on the quilt and looking up at that thing, I said, after I drew that right minutes after I was regressed. And I said, that looks like a Bigfoot. And it's funny now because other cryptids are, um, they gravitate towards me. I mean, I've seen a Bigfoot, a silhouette of one. I was probably about 20 feet from it. I hear them. They pounded on my doors, pounded on my house. I know where I've got all kinds of research that I've done with since I moved out here. It's like they follow me. So
But-
I know that sounds weird and woo woo, but it is what it is. It just is what it is.
That's why you're a guest and normal people aren't invited to Nightlight.
Thank you. I'm certainly not normal.
But as we look, do a lot of these shows, cover, your artwork after the event, or talk about how your psychic abilities were improved afterwards. Joey, do you, have you noticed in what all of your acting, your writing, talking with other people and at theaters, or have their experiences made them better artists? Is this are heightened skills part of the after experience new person?
Oftentimes they are. I think it raises empathy, and of course that's essential in an artist, in an actor, in a writer. If you watch, if you watch some of the shows with celebrity hauntings and things like that, profoundly changed. And they don't. That's a wonderful question, Mark. But I'm thinking, I know in my own experience, it's helped me tremendously. It's helped me tremendously. It's very interesting. Tonya and I very much align with Linda, and our experiences were. I can show you some pictures that are shockingly similar to something that Linda did, and we can do that, Mark,
Sure.
at any point. But we've talked to so many of the television shows because of our story. And I've talked to the producers and I've taken them through, I'm a writer, so I've took them through Act One. Our Act One, oddly enough, wound up on a show that they appended to somebody else's story. Because when we get to Act Three, they're like, so how did this ruin your life? How did this mess you up? And we're like, this opened up incredible doors. We met incredible people. It completely changed our life. This is a happy story. We were not, 2.5 hours we were with these beings, and they did not do anything to us. That was, the closest thing to anybody getting injured with almost 100 witnesses in 66 and 67 was Marcella Bennett being so shocked she dropped her baby. And that had nothing to do with the creature.
Right. And she
with
was
the
just
being, with
frightened.
the
It
bird. Yeah,
startled
she was
her.
frightened. Right.
I'd
So
have done it too.
there hasn't been one story where anything now, because of humans and their negative perceptions and the ridicule, a lot of those lives turned out quite badly, and that's tragic. But again, that also had nothing to do with the bird. So my new book is coming out. Mothman Was Here, and it is based on Tonya and I's experiences. It takes place heavily in 66, 67. And I really, some of the documentaries, a recent one maybe, there are so many positive things, interesting things. The whole Harbinger thing, right, Mark? The name of Mothman Prophecies was supposed to be the year of the Garuda. And a Garuda was a harbinger. It was a Hindu harbinger. But then in the Native American, you also have the Thunderbird, which is also a harbinger. So people get touchy. So I'll go carefully here. But exactly 13 months to the day of the sighting, the Mallet Scarberry sighting, is when the bridge collapsed for mundane mechanical reasons, because an eye-bar broke.
Eye-bar.
So these stories of MIBs on the bridge and the Mothman being on the bridge, but you can't ignore the fact that this historically across cultures winged messenger, harbinger, was trying to communicate with people, right? Faye DeWitt wouldn't cross the bridge. I think Marcella Bennett had a feeling about the bridge. Linda said she was dreaming about the bridge. Of course, Mary Hyre was having these dreams about the bridge.
Didn't Keel have a dream? Or he reported it in the book. I don't have time to look it up right now.
It's exactly like I had.
Yeah, Keel he was in contact with Apple, right? Who was telling him about earthquakes in Turkey and assassinations of popes. And when the Pope went to Turkey, Keel went and hung out on Long Island, right? He was gathering survival stuff. And I just started reading The Eighth Tower. He was not a hysterical person at all. He was very analytical.
If I can just add something here, I think that when people have an experience like this personally, that what it does is it opens a portal inside of you that allows your consciousness to link into your higher consciousness that attaches you to the spirit within you that gives you cosmic awareness. So what it does is it opens you up to areas that you didn't know existed that you had. But it gives you it allows you to facilitate the utilization of those qualities within you to help to bring light to the whole world.
Yes.
Okay, now I'm going to go away again.
Go away. Don't go away.
You can stay. She can stay there. It's her network. It's like it's not like I'm kicking her off, but you know, kind of.
Kind of like the third eye. It's like your third eye is opening.
Well,
if you want
to. And you know, one of the things that Joey just mentioned, which kind of got me, just started thinking was, he said something about these experiences can open doors. When I was thinking, okay, we get Jim Morrison seeing the car wreck with the Native Americans, and we did a show that was Barbara's show. On a couple months, 2-3 months ago, with Miguel Connor, with the blue lights that Elvis experienced after his twin brothers passing, and you get some of his songs that really appeal to him, like Blue Moon of Kentucky. And you get this repetition of colors. John Milton was losing his eyesight, and he had to dictate to his daughters, what would become about one of the most outstanding pieces of English literature, besides what Joey's written. But it's those are just three examples. Joey just kind of made that open the doors kind of thing. Well, comment, but that got me thinking about some of these other shows that we've done recently, and Joey and I have spoken some about the doors as well. How many of these events actually turn the artist into someone that all of us have grown up listening to? But Madonna is more of Linda's time time period.
Material girl.
There's
It was only I'm just talking about the 80s, but anyhow, go ahead, Joey.
no, there's a huge shamanic aspect. This
Mhm.
right, the light is the crack is where the light gets in. So Tonya had a lot of health issues when she was young. Jolie had a lot of health issues when she was young. If you go back and you track, Jim talked about it very seriously. He also saw a satyr at one point in his life. So I
I
think
did not know that.
yeah, he was very open to that, and he very much had the Jungian thing one, thing two, which I've experienced. Two distinct personalities, the quiet poet and the rock god. So we do kind of, you know, travel back and forth between the mundane and the sacred in ways. And I think I try to be careful, and I totally see where Barbara is coming from. Not everybody acts on those impulses. Some people just do put it away. They're not ready for it. The experience. But for us, it became very missionary. And I think that was Rosemary's influence too. She was an excellent teacher and had the spiritual aspect with the paranormal aspect. So yeah, the shamanic, I've studied shamanism and done we had a sweat lodge on our property, our 3 acres in West Virginia. There was a portal that people saw stuff come in and out, and fairy lights. We had a Shawnee chief on the property. We would have the little fairies would run around our house all the time in the form of these lights, and we didn't say a word to him. And he came up to the house and he sat down, and right in the middle of a conversation, he stopped and he said, "That's where the little people are, right over there." So that kind of thing was very confirming. Big orbs, beach ball size orbs that would travel along the property. The Bigfoot knocks on the back of the house that abutted a lot of forested acreage. So it seems to me, Mark, it's an interesting thing. Some people just have a one-off, but some people it seems like you're in training. It seems like I don't know about the word targeted, because I think it's either star stuff, lineage, and of course, like Linda said, the Native American connection. They talk about coming from the stars and the star people in almost every culture. Yeah, and if you think
Star
about
ancestors and
if you think about Skinwalker Ranch and the Ute and the Navajo, and there's a huge percentage of people who have witnessed and seen these things. So I think it's where you've come from. I've been told that I'm from here. So mine probably come more from the experiences that I've had, where Tonya is star stuff. So that's a little weird when you go out on a date and you meet people and they go, "Oh, you're from around here, but she's cosmic," and so. But
so, okay, I think that's an interesting question. Okay, Linda, you show a photo of Chief Cornstalk's a grave at the Tuindwe Park in Point Pleasant. Okay, then in the
Who's that?
your high school photo, and people see they can see a direct lineage from you to me to Chief Cornstalk, since we're related. So what is it about y- uh you know the native culture that was in the Point Pleasant region that are you aware of anything as it's documented in some of Alan Eckert's books with the cultures culture clashes or just the Native American culture? Was anything? uh, Do you feel like there's anything like transmitted to you from that time, the 1770s time period?
That's I found out that how I was when I was related to him. It was just probably maybe a year or so before I had my experience. And my grandfather's cousin worked in Washington D.C. and she had access to a lot of genealogy records and things, and she was some kind of important person there. And she got a hold of my grandpa, and she traced the family and told him. And I just my great grandma, which was my grandpa, my mother. There was my mother, and then my grandpa and his mother. His mother was a shoemaker. Her name was Shoemaker, and actually it was Schumacher. And they came from Alsace, France, which is wine country in the Alps. And so I started gathering the information that this lady gave me about the family and traced it, and found out that Sylvia Brown was a shoemaker, and she showed up in my great grandma's lineage. Sylvia Brown was a famous um, psychic, and she came from the same line. Now, as far as the Indians and the natives, um, I think they all have a certain spirituality about them. They had a one God, like the Christians. Right now, I'm reading the book that I've read 2 or 3 times before called "It's a History of Non Halima," which was Chief Cornstalk's sister. She was a chief also. She had a town up around Pickaway County, and the book is history, but it is also uh, what is that called when they put their own what they fill in the blanks. They put their own blank.
Historical fiction.
Historical fiction. It talks a lot about Dunmore's War and
Mhm.
the Revolutionary War and the British and the Americans. And she was peacemaker between the British and the Americans and went back and forth. I learned a lot in the book that I really didn't know too much about her, but it was based on a lot of it was based on fact. But she believed in the one God, and then she was baptized in the mission that was there near Fort Randolph. I think maybe it was up around Gnadenhutten, uh,
Mhm.
Schoenbrunn village up in there, and then but she was a very spiritual person, and I think a lot of the natives were because they live close to nature, they live close to the ground, and I've always felt that way. I'm always in the woods. Um, I haven't been since it's been so hot, and a cougar was sighted not too far from me, so I've kind of gave up going out in the woods this summer when there's so much undergrowth and stuff. But as far as a native culture, I think living close to the land, living close to Mother Earth, um, you become part of it, and your psyche and your soul progresses because of it. And I go barefooted most of the time. I don't wear shoes hardly ever unless I'm going out somewhere. I'm barefooted now, but I think you ground yourself. There are, ley lines and all kinds of energies that are in the earth that we don't know about that connects us to each other and to spirit. So
Okay,
It opens up your mind.
yeah, and Joey, we have about 10 more minutes left, and uh, y- both of you have provided some great insights into life as an experiencer. You're I assume that's probably going to be in your upcoming novel, Mothman Was Here. Well, you're also going to be speaking at this year's Mothman Festival. So you have, uh, uh, well, your podcast about, you know, writing, how to be a more creative writer. I think it's helpful to have, like you were talking the other last show about having something structured. I think a lot of high school kids just put any fact in a paper and fill up the 3-page requirement. Uh, you don't know where they're going with it, but um, maybe if they read your book and see you need to follow some kind of structure to make sense. So you have a whole bunch of new stuff to promote. So tell us a little bit about what we can expect from when we tune in Thursdays and at the Mothman Festival.
Yeah, so the Festival. This is my 4th time, and I haven't been there in a while, so it's great to come back. Since we all had to stay home, I haven't been able to make it back. I've had other obligations, but it's called Mothman and Me: Our Creative Journey So Far. And Tonya, being a psychic medium, she processes all of this stuff through those gifts. But for me, I have a super analytical mind, as spiritual as I am. Which Mark, that's every day is a story all its own, in the structured writing and the outlines and all that. In my paranormal work in the past 16 years, it's parallels, patterns, and pathways. So hearing Linda's story is just so much data that I can take that just makes a bunch of other things fall into place. So I was imagine my surprise. So, and you never know. This is why I just always have a stack of books. So Linda has this illustration here in the book. Well, when Tonya and I, just briefly, 2009, we're living in West Virginia, about 2 hours from Point Pleasant. We had seen Mothman Prophecies. I think we had read John Keel's book at the time. And Tonya called me and said, listen, the town of Point Pleasant, where all this took place, is only 2 hours away. And there's a museum. And I was like, oh, Mothman Museum. I'm like, no way, babe. Like, I'm not wasting a weekend to do this. And she just pressed me for months and months and months. And it was destiny. So we went there. I fell in love with the town 16 years ago. I was like stuck out of time. I have an absolute soul contact love affair with the Ohio River. I don't know. I haven't been able to trace it back to where it comes from, but when I am near the Ohio River, I just feel like I'm whole and I feel like I'm alive. So anyway, we went to the museum, and we went to Bob Landrum had the point. Bob Landrum was a super cool guy. I pay tribute to him with a character in Mothman Was Here. Anyway, he gave us a map. A guy at the museum, they said, you got to check out the igloos. And I'm from Sicilian from New Jersey. And I said, igloos in August in West Virginia? What the hell are you talking about? So they told me a little bit about the TNT area. Tonya and I said, we got to go see this. And Bob had Native American blood. And he says, Bob was like Elvis and Johnny Cash had a love child. He had a big pompadour with a DA, and he's cool. He had the cigarettes in his t-shirt. Bob passed a number of years ago. He's one of the people, along with Carolyn Harris and Rosemary Ellen Guiley, that I dedicate the book to. So anyway, he says, there's a Shawnee chief that's in an orb. Look at this picture. So Tanya's like, oh, we have to buy sage. And I'm trying to go quickly here, Mark. Anyway, we go down 62. We go to the TNT area. it's beautiful. It's like Ducks Unlimited, blue sky. There's the ponds, and we're scared to death. We are scared to death. I grew up in the Jersey Pine Barrens. My dad saw the Jersey Devil one night, and I was like, oh my gosh, like what's going on? So we went to Igloo 1, kind of peeked inside a little. We went to Igloo 2, and I had to stick my arm in and take a picture. I just couldn't go into Igloo 2, which, as we all know, is a very active, active igloo. And between Igloo 2 and Igloo 3, I started to get the dry heaves. And there's probably 20, 30 people who have been with me between Igloo 2 and Igloo 3. It became a thing. It's like, oh, come down to the TNT area and watch Joey, like, get the dry heaves. And when we did the library investigation on nights where it's very active, my system is just very, very sensitive, attuned to electromagnetic energy.
Yep.
And it gives me I have a very active gag reflex. Anyway, so Tonya and I are driving back on 62. We feel very bizarre. The cognitive dissonance of the blue sky and but how quiet and how much years later, right? Keel calls it the zone of fear. But we didn't know this. We didn't know any of this. And we turn to each other on 62 and we look at each other and we say, did you see that? If we had not said that to each other, I wouldn't be sitting here now, and our books wouldn't exist, and the podcast wouldn't exist. None of it would exist. I get this voice, this knowing in my head, and it says, don't tell me exactly what you saw. And I'm not going to tell you. We'll draw it. Well, this is Tonya and I's drawings.
No way. It looks exactly
almost
like
identical.
mine.
But if you look at, you see, Linda, I was just amazed. And
I love it.
Thing came over 62. Look very similar to what you drew here, right? These are our draw. Here's our shopping list. That's how taken aback we were. And we drew the same exact thing, she and I, with the corns on the right. We swore there was a corn field on the left. There's not. There's a house that's been there for 30 years. We had 2.5 hours of missing time. And then when we were regressed, Linda, when we were down there, Tonya left a little sage near Igloo 2. And I felt so strongly we were being watched. Well, my college roommate is a professional artist who works on a lot of the paranormal shows, but this is what I saw standing beside Igloo 2.
Wow.
Which is somewhere between a deer, a goat, and a gray alien.
A goat man. I know exactly where you're talking about because I was down there not a month or two ago.
Yeah, I mean, it was watching us. So that's why I say, like, it happens in stages. So it's like we knew, but we didn't know. So then something shows itself to us, and it leapt over the road and blinked out in the cornfield in a burst of light. Then in this 2.5 hours of missing time, Tonya spent some time with these guys up in an actual craft, running this black box over her body. And they were showing me, it looked almost like the set of The Wizard of Oz, or it looked like a film set, which I knew. And they were like, don't you like this? And I was like, look at the silo. It's not aged. There's nothing in it. There's no cows in the field. And they're like, just relax and enjoy it. And I'm like, no. And you can hear in the tape of the hypnotic regression, they're saying, not a good candidate, not a good candidate, not a good candidate. And the therapist says to me, was Tonya a good candidate? Oh, yeah, Tonya was a great candidate. So that's why I say it was like Betty and Barney. Barney had scuff marks on his shoes. They literally had to drag him into the craft, and Betty was like, "No, let me have the book," and
Oh,
Yeah.
and
she
that was
drew a
Tanya.
map. She
Yeah, she
drew a
wanted
star map.
souvenirs to take home
Yeah,
for proof.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tanya said to
right.
these guys, like, "How long is this going to take? Because I have stuff to do." That's how,
I want to
because
meet
her whole
her.
life, yeah. So
I want to meet her. Will she be down
you
there with
yeah,
you?
she'll be right with me. She'll be selling
Oh,
her artwork, her cryptid
I want to meet
themed
her.
mid-century hippie cryptids is what she does. So
Awesome.
yeah, yep.
I need to meet her. Sounds fantastic.
Yeah, you two will get on famously. That'll be very fun. Mark, are you going to be there?
I'll probably come down Friday for the dinner with the
Dave?
usual suspects. Steve, Bill, and Jackie. So
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
nice.
that just kind of fits in better with my schedule. But I
Mhm.
really it you know Steve and everyone treats me really well. I hope that I'm able to help them get the word out about what they do for the Ohio Valley as well as this state. It's really um,
They're great people, all
yeah,
of them.
yeah. It's it the whole weekend is a family event.
Yep.
It,
Mhm.
and it,
A lot of
it
fun.
it it really is. It's informative, great people, and um, I really don't want to miss it. So and it keeps growing every year. There's probably more people on Main Street than in the whole county the
Yeah,
rest of the year.
it's
It,
amazing.
it's um
I met people from all over the world,
yeah.
a lot of people from England, some people from Thailand, some people from Japan.
hmm That's the best thing going on in the state.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm just glad to play a tiny role in um the Mothman thing, and we have another terrific show next week on the same topics. And I think you guys set up some ideas that I was planning on covering anyways. Then after, I think a couple weeks after that, there's kind of another show to tie everything together. So I I think the groundwork that you two laid down tonight for the viewers, this is just a very unique and informative show, and I'm very thankful that we were able to do this tonight.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for
You, Mark.
Yep.
asking me.
Oh, you're
Nice to
welcome.
meet you, Linda.
Nice to meet you,
Yep.
Joey, and I look forward to seeing you at the Mothman Festival.
Yes, me
I
too.
can't
I'm going to
wait to
tell
meet
Tanya all
Tonya.
about it. I know. She's going to watch us after the fact. She's pulling the early shift tomorrow morning, so she had to go to bed.
Okay, well,
Awesome.
I'll get the archive
Thanks,
to you
Mark.
tomorrow, and
Thank you.
yeah, we better wrap up so Barbara can do all make sure all the tech stuff is done on time. But hang on after the show. Barbara takes us off the air, and we'll wrap up things there. But thank you everyone for watching tonight. Thank you, Joey and Linda. We will be in touch. And okay, Barbara, you can end the show now.